Congressman, Arizona Republican. Congressman Andy Biggs, he of course is a member of the House Judiciary Committee, which considered the articles, and is chairman of the influential House Freedom Caucus. Congressman, thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Ed. Good to be with you.
A lot covered by Democrats and Republicans about what we've seen in this trial, where we go from here. But I think maybe Lindsey Graham caught all of our ears by calling this, and let me try to put this in a family way, partisan BS. How do you react to that?
Well, I think he's right. I mean, this has been going on for years, as you know, and it started with, before President Trump was elected, with the actual spying on his campaign members by some intelligence agencies, and then it just continued on. It's one thing after the other. But I think what we've seen here has been, frankly, a disastrous move on the part of the Democrats. They've pressed for witnesses, acknowledging, however, that they didn't let Republicans even call witnesses in the House. They've tried to basically turn everything around into process argument. When we were complaining about process in the House, they basically rammed it down our throats. You know, it's just been awkward and weird.
You've also had the contradiction that you and others have pointed out, where the House managers were trying to make the case in this trial that they had the president cut and dried. They had the evidence to impeach him. It wasn't, they claimed, a rush to judgment. But then they kept saying, we need more documents, we need more witnesses to prove our case. Which one was it?
Well, the reality is they never had anything to prove a case because there was never anything done that qualified for any of this. So when they said that, the first time I heard it, Ed, I literally laughed out loud, because I said, how can you plausibly, with a straight face, say two different things that are absolutely 180 degrees apart? They're the ones who set the artificial deadline. They're the ones that prevented the due process in the House. And then you get to the Senate and it's like, oh, well, we need more. We need more.
But Congressman, now that the trial is coming to an end, one would expect, maybe even hope, that both sides could say, okay, there were big disagreements about how it all played out, but let's move forward. But instead, before we get to the State of the Union, we find out the Democrats want to delay things, have some speeches, and make sure the president is not acquitted before walking into that House chamber triumphantly. Do you see that as just being infantile, immature?
Yeah, I think some of this stuff borders on it's ludicrous. I mean, what they're doing is they're basically telling the American people, you know what, this has never been about what's right or wrong or what's just. What this is about is trying to embarrass this president, and that's what I see here. That's one last swing at the piñata, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Congressman, on the question of right and wrong, though, let me push back on the fact that even a Republican in Lamar Alexander, who was pivotal here in saying, no, I'm not going to vote for more witnesses, said in his statement, he was quite critical of the president and said he believes the phone call, the president's conduct, was inappropriate.
Yeah, I saw that, Ed, and I 100% disagree with him. In fact, the people who are monitoring the phone call, outside of Alexander Vindman, everybody else who was monitoring the phone call kind of had my reaction. When I saw the transcript, I said, are you kidding me? What are we doing here? And I think Senator Alexander is certainly entitled to his opinion, but I disagree with him vehemently.
Okay. Last question then, as we look forward instead of backwards towards this big State of the Union on Tuesday night. What's your advice to this president? Democrats have had their shots at him. Obviously, you've made the case. They've been doing this since before he was inaugurated. They're going to make the case that you and others were turning away from what they think was inappropriate. How does the president go before the American people, talk about the American comeback ahead of his reelection that Kevin Corke was reporting on, try to turn the page from this and look forward? What's your advice to the president?
Well, I'm hoping, and I believe he will deliver a speech much like he delivered at Davos, where he basically was so optimistic. I mean, you just felt like here's a guy that understands that he is actually coming out of this victorious. The Democrats, this is self-inflicted wounds. He doesn't need to pile on. He can be gracious, but I really tell you, he was so optimistic in Davos that I thought, this is the message that needs to go to the American people. We are coming back. Things are improving. This is a time to be looking forward with optimism and not to be looking backwards and with pessimism, because things have improved dramatically in the 3 years he's been president.
You can see the president starting to build that case likely Tuesday right through November about whether or not you're better off now than you were 3-4 years ago. Congressman Andy Biggs giving us a little preview now. We appreciate you coming in.
Thanks, Ed. Good to be with you as always.